Welcome to One Play Reviews. These are reviews where I sit down at my local board game shop and play a new game for the first time and talk about my experience with it. I'd like to thank Board Game Lab DDT for allowing me to do this in their store. Check them out at www.boardgame-lab.com. Japanese language may be required, but not entirely necessary to have a good time. Today's game, L-Tiles. L-Tiles came out in Japan back in 2014, but has been out of print for quite some time now. However, a reprint is on the way and should be out sometime later in 2018. Before that happens though, let's take a look at this abstract game and see how it plays. The goal of the game is to get the most points. Every player gets a reference card, a tile holder, and a bunch of tiles with blue, red, and yellow squares on them. You might notice that the version I'm playing with is actually incredibly low quality. That's because this package was created by the designer himself. Don't worry though, the reprinting will be of much finer quality, at least I assume it will be. Anyway, going back to the game. If you're the blue player, you will have more blue squares in your tile set, and every one of your tiles will have a plus symbol somewhere on the tile. The red player has more red tiles, which will have a circle symbol, and the yellow player obviously has more yellow squares, which is marked somewhere with a triangle symbol. On the back of your reference card is a diagram of all the tiles that exist in your set. Players lay all of their tiles face down, then draw 5 of those tiles randomly and place them on their stand. Your turn is quite simple. Choose one of your 5 tiles and connect it to another piece any way you like. As long as one side is lined up with another side, any placement you wish is fine. Then draw another tile at random to add to your stand. To get points, you need to create areas in your color. So at the end of the game, if an area has 4 to 6 squares in your color, this will get you 1 point. 7 to 9 squares is 3 points, and if you can make an area with exactly 10 squares, this will score you the maximum of 6 points. But here's the tricky part. If your area goes beyond 10 squares, then you will start to lose points. So imagine this scenario. You're the blue player and you have made an area with 8 blue squares. You could continue adding more blue squares to this area, but at the same time, so can other players, because they have the tiles with your color as well. If you decide to make an area with exactly 10 squares, you better hope that you can close that area off. Otherwise, other players will begin adding their tiles to your area, making you lose points. If an area has 13 or more squares with your color in it, then that area scores nothing. So you need to think about how to get your areas filled up to just the right amount and then close it off. Furthermore, remember those symbols I was talking about? If your areas have 4 or more symbols connected together, then that area will score you an extra 3 points at the end of the game. So if you've got 3 areas with 4 of your symbols touching, then this will score you 12 more points. There are also bonus points for who has the most areas, as well as the person with the biggest area altogether. The game ends once all tiles have been played. I thought scoring was going to be really hard to keep track of, but the game comes with counter tokens that you put on each area. Once all the areas are counted up, you take your points and add them up. This really helped out with the scoring. This game actually reminded me of Blocus, or Blockus, or however you say the name of that game. Both games have you thinking of how to lay down your tiles, but instead of trying to find more space on the board like in Blocus, here you're trying to manage the areas you're creating without having other players ruin it for you. So if you're looking for an alternative to Blocus, L-Tiles might not be a bad choice. This game isn't particularly long either. My one play took 20 minutes with 3 players. I found the game enjoyable enough, especially in the final rounds. I realized that if the other players didn't ruin it for me, I'd be able to get 3 areas blocked off with exactly 10 squares. Sadly, one of those areas did get ruined, but I was able to save the other 2. I did, however, misunderstand the rules and thought you only needed to connect 3 of your symbols together, not 4, so that made me end up losing the game. These kinds of abstract games aren't usually my thing though, so I'm not rushing to give it another try. However, I am curious about the new release later this year. The components will be getting a major upgrade, and apparently it will add a 4-player version where players play in teams. 2 players are on the red team, and 2 are on the blue team. But the catch is, you don't know who your partner is. So you have to be looking at who is playing what tiles where, so you can find your partner quickly to win the game. That sounds interesting enough, but we'll have to wait and see until the final release. My first play of the game, nothing like Tetris.